What are you doing? All right, gang, we got ourselves another problem. As the cat is trying to rearrange uh stuff behind me, I think. I don't know. I went to set up for, I wish I was as clever as this appears to look. I did not realize when let's back up. The Nationals won the World Series. How you doing, Appa Chatter? Nice to have you along. So the Nats won the World Series in 7 games, and that was last Wednesday night. And so I stayed up way too late. In fact, if you remember, I actually did a show with Ricky Keeler that got over about 5 after 1 in the morning. Nothing wrong with that. And so by the time that noon on Thursday rolled around, I was really in no position because I was half asleep to do a football game. And so, how you doing, Tribe Fan? I'm going to leave this up on the screen, so I'll put your comments up a little bit later. So I figured I would just play the game Monday night because the week isn't technically over until Monday night anyway. So I had some time, and I knew the other game would be Dallas and New York. I knew that when New York beat Washington. The Steelers won thanks to Ray Finkel, okay? And so I went to set up for it this afternoon, or just a few minutes ago, as a matter of fact. Dallas and New York. And I was thinking, how clever is it that actually I saved the Cowboy Giant game for a Monday night right before a Cowboy Giant game? Wow. If I had half a brain whatsoever, I would have planned it that way. I really didn't. I knew I had other things to do and other things I wanted to stream. And so the football game got pushed back to Monday night. So I opened up the football game, set up the streaming software, and went to load the teams. The Giants won the toss, and I'm looking, and there's no starting running back, there's no fullback, there's no wide receiver for Dallas. And the quarterback listed for Dallas is Turk Schulter, who I know as Kenny Anderson's backup with the Bengals back in the early 80s. I guess he was a backup in Atlanta. At one point a couple weeks ago, I went to open up the football game, and instead of where Dallas should have been, the standings in the NFC East, it said Atlanta. And I didn't think anything of it. The game is pretty stable. And so I just, the logo was there. And so everything else said Dallas. And so I switched it from Atlanta Falcons to Dallas Cowboys and made sure I changed the field from Fulton County to Texas Stadium. And never thought anything of it. Dallas isn't all that good. Like I said, I never thought anything of it until tonight when I went to load it up, and it was the semi-injured Atlanta Falcons playing the New York Giants. So I don't know what I'm going to do. I got to find out at one point the file corrupted and how many Cowboy games were played with the not Dallas Cowboys. And how much of that replay have I lost? Now, we're only going to get one game in the current week anyway. The schedule wasn't all that great. So many 2 and 7 and 3 and 6 teams playing against good teams. So the only game that was going to be Thursday between Miami and Cleveland, which should be a good game. Tomorrow is sadly the anniversary of the death of my dad, and I was going to do something special tomorrow night anyway. Buffalo Bills related, probably not from 1986. I looked, and I forgot who they played. But I don't know how long my file has been corrupted. I don't know how the file got corrupted. But clearly, when I opened up the Dallas Cowboys tonight, they weren't the Dallas Cowboys. And so I really don't know what to do. These football games on a regular basis are the most watched things on the channel. People love football. And 10 weeks into a replay, I really don't want to restart the 1986 season. The whole point is that we would Oh, thanks. I was 13 when that was taken. How you doing, Wes or Will? So, I'm I'm not sure what to do, considering that this was completely a replay that was done for broadcast, and how to get around that. So, anybody have any suggestions? I mean, the Cowboys team just is not there. They're the Falcons, and so the stats are going to be screwed beyond belief. And I mean, we can make if we lose a game, we lose a game. But I know if I can find when the Cowboys were the Cowboys and then re-export and then kind of fudge it from there. But outside of that, I'm kind of at a loss of what to do. Right now, I think it's just the Cowboys, but this was not something I found last week and ignored. I think the Cowboys have 2 or 3 games where they may not have played as the Cowboys. And so the stats database is going to be royally messed up. Does Action Football back up weekly? Only if you tell it to, and I've never had to do it. The only time that I've ever had a problem with a replay that you guys have seen was when the computer froze or whatever during the National League Championship Series. And we had that freeze up, and I was able to back up the games and then bring them back in, but it counted game 1 twice in the stats for Montreal, which is why I had to go do spreadsheets for the World Series so I could get an accurate statistical run for that. So I'm sure I can find it, but I think this is a problem that didn't realize was going on for 1, 2, 3 weeks. And so I could probably go back to week 6 or so. I could probably go through it, but I don't know. I'm sure I could export all the games, but as I take a sip of water, can you hear it? But with injuries and stuff, I can't reset all the injuries. So if it's just one game, it's not that big of a deal. But if I'm talking that I've barfed up a quarter of the season because of this, then you got injuries for those other teams for games that they're going to technically have to replay. Can I do a system restore to a couple weeks ago? Let me open the game real quick and see when's the last time Tony Dorsett and Herschel Walker played. Yeah, I've got players with. Oof. Remember, this affects Atlanta too. It's not just Dallas. Can I go back to, okay. Oh, goodness. Oh, I did this game too. I did the week 6 game. Okay, so week 6 is there. Although it's showing me, let me hold on a sec. All right. This was the last Dallas game we did, the walk-off win for Washington in week 6. You can see where we played Dallas. It was right, but the pictures are now of Atlanta. Which is not good. Week 7. See, that's when it starts to play Atlanta. So theoretically, I've lost 2 weeks worth of stuff. And now have doubles for Atlanta. So theoretically, I've lost the last 2 weeks of the replay. It's not something I'm going to do tonight, but I think we'll do what I'm going to send the file to Dave Koch Sports and see what they, to zip and see what they reinstall it, maybe export. But the first, I'm going to get some answers first from them before we go any further. And so, yeah, the NFL has gone on strike. And so if they tell me that I can at least do the first 6 weeks, yeah, I'll be back. I'll talk to you in a minute. We would do the first 6 weeks and then we go on strike. We would just autoplay, whatever. But yeah, there's a corruption there. I'm getting some corruption in the basketball file too. I don't know if there's a bad sector in that DKsports.com, speaking of corrupted high tape, or what. Although in the baseball game, it doesn't seem to matter. We've done that 60s tournament and we did the pre-play of the World Series and that worked fine. The hockey, a couple times I've opened up the hockey game, that's fine. But yeah, so I think we'll leave it as this. We will do something tomorrow night for my dad, football related, because tomorrow is the 3rd anniversary of his passing. And so I will zip up the file and send it to the support gurus there and say, with an explanation of what the hell's going on here. And then we'll get an answer. I wish it was just as easy as the basketball players playing football and vice versa. What would happen is when you would play a basketball game. Now, I was using last year replay I had started in the previous version of basketball into this one. The new one was that players' names would show up multiple times. I think Indiana had like 4 players by the name of Johnson. And I wasn't kind of worried about that. But when there was 3 parishes running around the floor for Boston, that was kind of confusing, including one Larry Bird, who was not Robert Parrish. So that's the deal with that. For the moment, the 1986 Pro Football Replay is on indefinite hiatus. Not enough fouls for if they were the Raiders, they'd certainly could commit enough fouls. You think Kenny Sadler could go through a game without fouling out? So the football replay is on indefinite hiatus until I get an answer from the folks in Wisconsin on what in the world happened. Because, like I said, this is the second sport that's now kind of corrupted. And the basketball one I'm just doing on my own. It's not a big deal. But the football one is entirely for you guys. And we need to have that right. And this would be the 3rd game the Cowboys have played without the Dallas Cowboys. We've secretly replaced the Dallas Cowboys with the Atlanta Falcons. Let's see if anybody notices. And so I don't know how much of that database is corrupt. I think I can go back through and re-import the first 6 weeks just fine. But I want to get some clarification from the folks in Wisconsin that something that's just not right. So there we go. We will do an exhibition game for my dad tomorrow night involving the Buffalo Bills because no one circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills. And at that point, I will update you on what I've heard from the good folks at Action PC Football. But for now, No football game tonight. And I'm sorry, I was kind of looking forward to that. So, but we will see what we will see. I don't know. It may be just as easy as just kind of re-importing around the Cowboy games and then just having the computer. It does sound like a bad alternative reality novel. And then hockey players came and ate them. Tom Landry is certainly no dirty birdie, for sure. So tomorrow night around 7 o'clock, we will do something for him, for Dad, not Tom Landry. And then at that point, hopefully I'll have some information there. I mean, if it's just a matter of the Cowboys just uploading the first 6 weeks of the season and kind of going from there, you can't blame the cat this time. Nope, definitely not her fault. But I am worried that this is now the second sport that I've kind of had a messed up file. So, all right. So thank you so much for your patience. We'll talk to you tomorrow night for some Buffalo Bills action. Hopefully stack the deck with them somehow. But until then, I'm Ron Jucka. Thank you so much for watching. Hit that like and subscribe, and we'll work on this, and hopefully we'll have something for you tomorrow. Until then, have yourself a good night.